Hi all. Muswell had a really miserable match last night against Hackney 2, which in theory, we have the strength of players to sort of really outrate them. But as it went last night, we only outrated them a few points on some of the boards, and they had a couple of unrated players, which in theory, we should have duffed over. But they did well as well. So we ended up losing the match 6.5, 1.5. And the draw was this game, so it also ended my winning streak. Anyway, so I was playing Chin, who, Francis Chin, a very strong player. I've played him before, and he played very solidly. So after knight f3, he played d5, and after c4, knight f6. And perhaps here I should have played c takes d5. I think I was a bit concerned actually about c6. Funny enough, there's a sort of strange, gambit to get control of d4. But maybe this is what I should have played. Or knight. I suppose he would have played knight takes d5, but that would have been, kind of interesting compared to what happened. I mean, after d4, he just played the rock solid Slav, which, I don't really enjoy playing that much sometimes against. It can be very difficult to get a solid advantage against it. So this bishop f5 line in particular, he is tempting me for this queen b3 stuff, which we saw in the one of the Kasparov Blitz games recently. So I wasn't really convinced about playing queen b3 here, for example. Or is it just e6? I think just e6. So if it takes on b7, knight d7, and I'm not really sure that I like this for white. And Kasparov really murdered Karpov, I think, with this gambit idea. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to play more safely. So what I ended up doing was actually playing e3, a bit of a meek move, closing in my queen's bishop. But if it went to g5, I thought you had knight e4s, but so that's complex as well. So anyway, I just simply wanted to have the two bishops. So I played knight h4, and I'm giving him double pawns, but in return he's getting good h-file pressure. So h2 is going to be a problem. And here I thought, well, I want to try and open up my light square bishop a bit, so I'll take on d5 first. And to neutralise the h-file, I played g3. And after knight d7, I thought, hold on a sec, the bishop's actually better on d3. And in fact, Rybka's liking this move, bishop d3 as well. I mean, bishop g2, is more routine. But on d3, there's more potential for attack, I thought. So it's funny, Rybka likes the move I played soon. Actually, I didn't play it immediately. I played bishop d2 first. Just in case there's a plan of, swapping off this dark square bishop, a bit like a French defence structure in reverse, where you swap off your bad bishop. But it wasn't possible to do that. First I put the other bishop on d3, and he plays queen e7. And he's got a very strong grip on e4 as well. That's one of the consequences of me playing c takes d5 earlier. So perhaps there was another way of playing it to gain an advantage actually. If we go back here, maybe instead of c5, just bishop d3 would have been better to keep this tension in the centre. And maybe, if black's going to arrange pressure on e4, maybe a completely different plan, c5, but then it allows potentials for e5. But this might not be so bad. Here, say castles, so if he hasn't got a bishop to go to d6, maybe this isn't as bad as it looks. Now b4, there's a queenside kind of attack initiative here. So this could have been a completely different plan to the game. Anyway, so if we go back to the game, so I took on d5 and this g3. I didn't really emerge with much of an advantage at all. He castles queenside. I castle queenside as well. And I have to be concerned about him doubling up rooks simply on h2. But first he plays knight e4. And black has a slight advantage now according to Rybka. I think I empathise with that evaluation because one of the problems, if bishop e1, I'm going to have more difficulty playing F3 because knight takes G3, this horrible pin on the H rook. So say bishop takes G3, bishop takes G3. Oh no, are we protecting that? Why did I think there was something wrong with this? I thought, okay, maybe F3 is an okay idea here. But black has moves. Alright, say black does knight df6, F3. So he can take on C3. Now simply pile up the pressure on the E pawn again. I think black's fine. And bishop B4, trying to split these pawns up even more. So I think black's fine here. In fact, black's got all the pressure, both on the E file and the H file. I'm potentially damaging my structure on the queen side. So say if I take, it's really a bit of a poxy position to have out of the opening, this white. So let's go back. So castle's queen side, 94. I'd actually played F3. I was prepared to get rid of this bishop straight away, just to try and get in E4. So rook H5, now E4. Still black's better. It's not as if I've got loads of pressure behind this break in the centre. I was hoping he'd switch the rook across, because then maybe rook F1 and his rook might be misplaced, but he didn't do that. He just played doubling up rooks, played E5. And now I've played H4, which I was hoping would give me a small advantage. Because if G5, I thought bishop E2, and I'm holding on to my H pawn. So I'm neutralising the pressure here. And I was starting to get a bit more cheered up with my position. But objectively, I don't think it's that great. So H5, G6, and he's like forcing me to desperately hold on to this pawn. But the problem is now this knight B6 to D5, because I've weakened D5 as well. There's going to be horrible threats of bishop C3 and queen A3 if I'm not careful. I was tempted for bishop F3. Apparently that's a reasonable move. I was worried about knight C4. What happened? I played actually king B1, and he played king B8, and I played rook HF1, and now he takes on C3 and carries out this strategic maneuver to F4. And here I'm tempted to sack the exchange. It's not a brilliant exchange sack, the conditions for it. It's not as if it gets a big advantage or anything. I was just trying to avoid losing material and have some opportunities to get an advantage. But it's far from clear, and in fact I think black is going to be potentially better now, because a rook is more intelligent than the bishop and more resourceful. So rook G1, A6, and I was tempted for rook G7. And there's a brilliant variation, which I didn't see during the over the ball game. Sorry, during some post-mortem when I came back, starting with queen A3, and if queen D2 here, there's a crushing move. Rook G6, big advantage to black. And look at this, HG, check, bishop D1, and now rook H2. So a beautiful queen decoy. If queen takes H2, queen C1 mate. If G takes, then rook takes, and the queen's on F8. So check now. I'll just get mated on A2. So this is beautiful, isn't it? It just shows that black's got a very dangerous position, really. It's too late for me to queen here because I'm getting mated. So I am in theory, I think, getting a worse position now. I'm in a worse position. I played actually rook F1. I was tempted for rook G7. But yeah, I was wary about queen A3s, so maybe rook F1 isn't as bad as I thought during the game, because I thought, oh, I've let him off with F6 now. He's exploiting this pin on the bishop. So he plays F6. I played bishop G4 and meekly off for a draw. We've just gone past move 30, so we've got an extra 15 minutes now, and he's got about 10 minutes left, and thankfully accepted. I just think I'm worse. So that's the end of my winning streak. Say he'd taken on here. I mean, he could liquidate maybe, but this should be equal actually. This position looks equal according to Ribka 2.3, dead equal if he does liquidate. So if he doesn't with rook H5, then maybe I've still got a bit of play left, and he's only got 10 minutes. So I've only got about 10 minutes. So I think a draw was a fair result considering. So sorry about that, guys. The end of my winning streak over the board. Let's hope I can still win a few more games and end up with a slightly higher ECF rating next year. So in summary and overview, rock solid defence. I really need a system against this. Perhaps I shouldn't have played c takes d. Maybe that was the cause of all the problems later. All the pressure on e4 via the e file, the semi-open e file, as well as the semi-open f file. So these semi-open files are causing me problems in this game. And even with the two bishops, it's not good. If black's got every piece really good, really activated and playing as a team here. And I like his knight maneuver was good as well. Just going to f4, very logical, exploiting that pin. So sacking his bishop in effect to get in knight d5 to f4. So a very good play by black, and a solid effort. Very difficult to break down. Nice timely f6, and thankfully he'll offer the draw after bishop g4. I think I could be going down here potentially. Comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks very much.